If you really take pride in your bike and the way that you maintain it, then you might be looking for new ways to take that to another level. Well, if that's you, then here are 5 things that you can do that show you really know your stuff and to help your bike reach pro-level perfection. When you buy a new bike, you'd hope that it all works perfectly, and generally that is the case. But one issue that does seem to crop up quite regularly on new bikes is overlong cables. Now, you'd be forgiven for not noticing if you have them. Your bike will still function almost perfectly, but they have a habit of rattling. They are a little bit unsightly, and they'll also contribute to a feeling of spongy brakes or gears because the cable outers will flex. Fixing it isn't a quick job, but it is very satisfying, and it's not actually difficult. This bike is pretty much spot on, but I reckon I can get a centimetre or so off that brake cable just to reach perfection. Essentially, all they have to be is long enough to allow the handlebars to turn through the full range of motion unimpeded. There is a slight exception to that, and if the cable gets too tight, then it can contribute to drag in the system, and that's really only evident at the rear derailleur and that stretch of cable just down there. Right, how do we fix it? To start with, remove the cable end cap. That seems like a travesty with a shiny blue one, doesn't it? If your cable's slightly frayed, then it's actually quite helpful just to trim that bit off, because you need to be able to re-thread the cable through the outer, and if it's frayed at all, it's not going to go. And what you don't want to do is have to replace your inner cable as well. That's a pain. Undo the cable cinch bolt, and that's obviously the same whether it's your brake or your derailleur cable that you're cutting. And then remove the inner cable just far enough that it clears the outer that you're cutting, because obviously you don't want to cut the inner cable at the same time. Now, you'll obviously have to reset your brakes or re-index your gears afterwards, but kind of goes without saying. Now, when you reassemble things, you are going to have to either re-index it if it's your gears or reset up your brakes. If you get stuck with that, then we've actually got videos already on the channel, and you can get straight through to them if you find the links in the description below this video. Now, one byproduct of cables, whatever their length, is that they often end up scratching your frame. It looks a bit unsightly, and in worst case scenarios, actually ends up wearing away material and not just paint from your frame. Now, little clear sticky patches are commonly used. You simply stick them to your frame on the area that's either about to get scuffed or has just got scuffed. But what's a really good alternative is stuff called helicopter tape. As you imagine, this is tape that helps to protect helicopters. Mountain bikers often use it to cover quite large areas of their frames, so particularly the down tube, for example, to guard against rock strikes. But us roadies can definitely take a leaf out of their book. You simply cut a patch that you need for the appropriate size, clean your frame with an alcohol wipe to help it to stick properly, and away you go. So you can do that on areas that's going to be affected by cables, but also potentially places like your chain stays to stop it getting scratched from the chain. Bar tape is a source of much debate and also pride amongst riders. And rightly so in my book. Dirty bar tape is a little bit gross. Ripped bar tape, even worse. Now, how you tape them is really important, but I think how you finish them is also key. There's a few different ways to do it, but my favourite uses a knife to make a really crisp finish to your bars. To do it, you tape a little bit further along the handlebars than where you want them to actually finish, and then very, very carefully you use a knife to make a really sharp cut around the handlebars. Remember as well that when you're getting close to the bars that you don't press down, because you really don't want to scratch them. When you're done and you've made the cut, then simply peel it all away to leave a very smart looking bit of handlebar. Trim your steerer tube. Now, this is important from an aesthetic perspective, but also because having a whole load of carbon sticking straight up towards your sternum just isn't really a very good idea. Now, you obviously need to have your position completely dialed before you trim your steerer tube, and also always make sure that you leave a 5mm spacer on top, possibly a 10mm if you think that you might raise your handlebars in the future. I've actually got a couple of bikes left over from my racing days where I slammed the stem, cut the steerer, and now I can't get the handlebars high enough, which is slightly annoying. We've got a video showing exactly how to do it, and the link to which is in the description below this one. Just remember that when you are cutting your steerer tube, that you take safety precautions, particularly wear a mask. Now, I've been pulled up on this a few times here on GCN, mainly because I don't actually do it myself. But it is a good idea to align the logos of your tyre with your valve stem. Now, some people do it for aesthetic reasons, other people point to the ease with which you can find the cause of your puncture because you can keep a track of where the sharp object in your tyre is in relation to your valve stem. Now, once you know about this, I'm pretty sure that you'll make a point of setting your tyres up this way every time. So there you go, 5 simple jobs that you can do that probably won't increase your enjoyment of riding, but will bring satisfaction to those of us that care about the little things. Now, if you want to get through to that video about how to trim your steerer tube, then you can do it right now by clicking just up there. Or for another video on how to change your brake cables, which could well help when it comes to trimming the outers, you can get through to that just by clicking down there. Finally, what will bring satisfaction and enjoyment is subscribing to GCN. So if you haven't done it already, you can do that by clicking on me. By the way, that reference to the little things, if anyone edits a photo of Dan Lloyd in his white Cervelo testing kit here, I'm not going to be happy. That's not what I meant. Just don't want to see that picture again. Oh, God. Oh, man. Didn't need to see that.